Welcome to In Focus with Eden Lane.
Hi, I'm Eden Lane. This week we're making our first visit to the Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center just in time for their holiday production. It's The Wizard of Oz, the musical. They're doing it in an Art Nouveau style, and we'll have a chance to meet the cast and the director, who's also the producing artistic director of the resident company here at the Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center. Founded in 1936, this impressive facility is now on the National Register for Historic Places. The multidisciplinary approach goes beyond the performing arts to include galleries and arts education. The diverse permanent collection includes masterworks by top modern American artists. But we begin this visit with a peek in the rehearsal hall for their production of The Wizard of Oz. So even though this is our first visit to the Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center, I was really looking forward to it once I learned more about the facility, and when you announced that you were doing The Wizard of Oz during the holidays, this had to be our first visit.
Well, I'm thrilled you're here.
And you've only been here a few seasons, so how did you become connected? Because your background is all on the East Coast and in New York, so how did you end up here?
I was running a theater in northern Maine for 6 years, and
You don't have a Maine accent at all.
well, I'm a New Yorker, you know, and I was looking for the next artistic directorship opportunity, and we have some family. My wife and I have some family out in the Denver area, and I came down here after a phone interview, and I could not believe the amazement of this entire facility and the ability to do multidisciplinary arts projects, because we are also an amazing museum and we have a school of education with classes for both children and adults, and this just the facility and what's happening inside here and the history of it made it something I had to come and be a part of.
And since the theater is your first love, or at least it seems as
Yes.
if it's your first love, this facility has some really unique attributes and history.
It does.
Tell
It
me
does.
a little bit about that.
Well, it's the room we're sitting in now, and the seats are the original seats from 1936. So just over
And they're so
75 years.
comfy.
I know they've been restored since. But a 400-seat Art Deco theater. I mean, the room is really, really gorgeous. Beautiful chandelier that was a collaboration between the architect and one of the 3 women who founded the institution. And my last theater was a 1920 historic theater, and I'm a fan of historic theaters and American history, and I just love the vibe of being in the space, because to me the theatrical performance is the main course of the experience. But from the moment you walk in the door until the moment you leave, everything about the experience is part of it. And to feel this, I don't know, the ghosts that have been in here is
Absolutely.
The spirit of this amazing, somewhat hidden gem for the state of Colorado is really great.
I'm so disappointed that I've not been here before this, because even just spending the afternoon with you and the company, I know that I should have been and will continue to
That's great.
come visit.
Yeah.
The caliber of work that they're doing in that rehearsal room certainly is much more than one might expect for a community theater. This isn't a community theater.
No,
this is
we're
a
not.
professional theater.
We are a professional theater company. We are one of 3 professional theater companies in town, actually, which is surprising for the size of Colorado Springs. There's quite a wealth of theater and a number of community theaters in town too. So we do operate with a mix of equity performers and non-equity performers. We do bring in performers from across the country for productions. Not in this particular production.
Yeah, all the leads are all local
The
Colorado
entire
performers.
cast is local. We have one actor in the company who lives in Denver. Everyone else lives right here in Greater Colorado Springs.
And you're having a live orchestra. How many pieces?
Always. 10.
Always.
Always. When we do musicals, always a live orchestra.
So a 10-piece orchestra.
10-piece orchestra. Yeah.
And that's pretty standard in most musical theaters now. They've condensed to a smaller
Yes,
orchestra, but
yes.
it's still live music.
It has to be. To me, I can't do it any other way.
You talked about the history of this building and the period of this and your previous home.
Yes.
Did that inform, or does that passion for certain eras inform the way you're approaching this production?
I don't think specifically this production. I'd say my own artistic aesthetic leans toward 20th and 21st century American theater, and so I really love early 20th century, first half 20th century theater, and in a way that's where The Wizard of Oz sits. And even though the musical is very much based on the movie, it also incorporates a lot of the original Baum book that was written in 1900. And so I really began thinking, well, that's when the story takes place. That it is not the Depression, it is not the Dust Bowl, it is the turn of the century. And what Dorothy would see in her dream of what Oz is, I was, well, what is that? I said, well, it has to be New York City in 1900. And what would it be her visual? Illustrated newspapers of the time period. Well, what style of art was that? Art Nouveau. That's how we got there.
And that's not in the script or the text in any way.
That was our own creative decision on how to figure out how to get behind the design, because we knew we wanted to honor the movie and give everyone the moments in the movie that they expect. But I didn't want to recreate the movie on stage.
Yeah.
So really focusing on 1900 and Art Nouveau was the way for us to make it our own production.
So because you came up with an original approach artistically to the whole production design, that must have meant you had a staff here to build it.
Oh yes, we. It's really great. The full-time production staff here are also really talented designers of their own right, and our scenic and lighting designer, particularly, are also our full-time staff. I brought in a colleague of mine from New York City to do the costume design.
But it's built by people who.
Oh,
live and
everything's
work
built here. All the scenery is built here, painted here. Props are shopped or bought or purchased here. Our physical plant is all here in the building, which is amazing, as you know.
Is there a sense of what percentage of other houses of your size get to have that luxury of having all of that done right in-house like you do?
You know, it's...
it seems a little unusual.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's hard to find enough real estate to have enough space to do the support services inside the same building. I mean, even Playwrights Horizons in New York, their scene shop is 10 miles away in Brooklyn. So we're very fortunate that I can, within a minute, I can get from my office to the scene shop and then in the costume shop and talk to all the departments in a very short period of time when I need to.
So most of our viewers would be familiar with something like that at the Arvada Center at the Denver City Theater Company,
that's right.
but not necessarily realize that we have this resource right here in Colorado Springs to come and enjoy full-on musicals with local actors and live musicians.
Yes.
So now that you've been here 2.5 years and this is your holiday
Extravaganza.
Extravaganza, yes. What's your take on the state of the art here in Colorado Springs for you?
Well, there's a lot of it, not just theater, but I think there are a plethora of really excellent arts organizations in Colorado Springs, and it's wonderful that there is such a community that respects and frequents each other. You know, we're really collegial, which is fabulous. The work we are doing here is as good, if not better, than the work happening in other parts of the state. It's just true. And for us specifically, we just enjoyed our largest audience last season, our 25th anniversary season. Sold more tickets than any other season. And we currently have close to 2,000 subscribers this year. So the audience is growing.
2,000 subscribers in just over 400 seat theater. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's about a third of our audience are subscribers.
That's pretty major, especially in a smaller metropolitan area like Colorado Springs.
That's right.
So what's your goal for this production? I know that you tackled the artistic approach fresh. What else have you done for us in this production?
Well, we've made we made some parts funnier than the movie. You know, there's a piece where I was like, well, I don't want the Wicked Witch to be that scary. I mean, there are people who still say, God, I was so scared. I still have nightmares of the Wicked Witch, you know. So she's more of a diva in this production, and
I'm sure that was hard to find someone to play
right?
that.
No, and Erin Carmen does a fabulous job in the role. The script itself was written in such a way that Auntie Em also plays Glinda, and Uncle Henry plays the Osgard. So everybody in Kansas becomes somebody in Oz, which is different from the movie a little bit. So, but that's
Yeah, only the main characters did that. Only the Scarecrow and the Lion.
That's right. Yeah. And I think that, you know, it's a very large company for us. It's 28 actors.
Wow.
And over half of them are under the age of 18. We do a conservatory training program every summer, a 5-week program that has both a performance track and a design track. And so a number of our high school teenage students, we then are able to offer main stage roles. So it's great to have their education, theatrical
And for
education
more than just a
develop.
weekend or two like they would at their own school, this is running through the entire holiday
This is a 4-week run, and everybody's getting paid, even the little 8-year-old munchkins that are in the show, you know, because we're a professional company.
And you have more of a role than just being the director of the facility and this production.
It is true. I don't know if it was stupid or wise to cast myself as the title character, and I'm playing the Wizard of Oz.
Well, I'm thrilled that we got a chance to come and visit you and get our first exposure with such an iconic production that's turning into an extravaganza here in Colorado Springs. Thank you for making time for me today.
Oh, thank you.
And now we have another highlight from the rehearsal room with the full cast of The Wizard of Oz. While the rest of the company took a break, I was joined on stage by the Scarecrow, the Cowardly Lion, the Tin Man, Dorothy, and of course Toto too. Smiles. Well, I'm so excited that we've got to come and visit you during rehearsals, which explains your attire. I know you wanted to make sure we had a chance to say that. We haven't visited the Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center before, and the fact that you're doing the Wizard of Oz at holiday time is kind of thrilling for me. What must it feel like for you to do this show at holiday instead of a traditional holiday show?
Well, I think that just with any holiday season, because there's so many different holidays to celebrate right now, I think it's just the magic of the season that's so wonderful. And the magic in this show is really captivating. And I think it's just a great time to celebrate family and love.
Clearly, you must have all seen many versions, including the movie, many, many times. How does that inform your work as an artist when you're creating these characters anew? You don't want to just make a carbon copy of what you've seen before.
Well, yeah, I think in this production, I think we try to stay true to the movie as much as possible, just because we know people are coming in expecting a certain thing. But then when I got here the first day, our director, Scott, had all of these pictures of new ways of envisioning these characters, and basically they've kind of rethought sort of the costume design and the staging of it in a lot of ways. So it's definitely still fresh, but we do stay true to the movie as much as possible, I think.
Because you have seen the movie over and over again, how do you sort of incorporate that into your work, but still approach it as an artist fresh and create the character for yourself?
I struggled with that a lot just because Judy Garland played Dorothy. I don't know if you know
Some little
who that
actress they may
is.
have heard of before, yes.
Yeah, she's done a few things. And I first said to Scott, I said, I don't want to go on stage and just sound like Judy. And he said, don't go on stage and just be Judy. Go on stage and be Dorothy. Because at this point, I think with all of these characters, that it's about doing Dorothy, not so much about doing Judy. Now, Judy did Dorothy quite well, so in turn I am doing Judy, but Dorothy's in there.
But you're not trying to mimic her performance in any way.
No.
So how did that free you up as an artist to create the Tin Man anew, to create the Cowardly Lion anew and the Scarecrow anew?
Well, you want to kind of, take that original material and like Brian said, stay true to it and give people a little bit of what they're expecting, but you want to give your own little character differences. You want to make it your own as much as staying true to the original material. I mean, there's so many books and so many movies and so many versions that you've said that it's fun to kind of, take a little bit of this one, a little bit of this one, and just kind of make it your own with the script that's already there that people know.
Do you find that you're, how long have you been in rehearsal already?
Our first rehearsal was November 1st.
So it's been
3 weeks.
It's been almost a month. So have you found physicality of your own that wasn't captured before?
I think so. I think this part physically for me is really demanding. And it was kind of fun to find the differences between the wobbly legs and then the stable wobbly legs and then the legs without the wobble but still a little bit of unbalance. And, so we kind of find it level at a time. And that's what's great about Scott being there is he can kind of help you from that outside perspective see it because I can't underneath me. So piecing it together like that has been a lot of fun.
So you're not doing Ray Bolger, you're not doing Burt Lahr,
They're heavy inspirations.
the heavy inspiration.
Yes.
Now there's musically there's going to be a couple of moments, especially for you, where the audience not just has an expectation of what it will sound like, but they might want to sing along with you.
That's true, I hadn't thought about that. No pressure.
How are you finding those iconic moments of your own instead of trying to imitate what you've seen before?
Technically, the easiest thing that's been given to me is that the music in this show is about a step to a third higher than the movie. So I couldn't sound like Judy, even if I wanted to, because she's singing a lot lower than I am. So right there, I'm given this moment of, okay, the pressure's off.
Yeah.
You don't have to sound like Judy, because we've taken it up. But for Somewhere Over the Rainbow, I think that we all love that song, because anyone can sing it. And so really staying true to the fact that it's just a beautiful song that a child sang. And it's as simple as that.
That's a brilliant way to attack it. Now, the gentlemen, you really all sing almost the same song with different words. What's that challenge like as you're going through the performance?
Well, I guess, again, just keeping it your own and not really trying to pay attention to what everyone else is doing. And then
Do you ever get lost and sing somebody else's lyrics to the song? Sing each other?
Surprisingly not.
No.
No, they all kind of each have their own story. And it's really just like an interlude to the song that you know from the movie. And it tells a little bit of a story, and there's a little bit of humor with each of the characters. So I personally never heard that intro before, and I enjoy it. But I have not, I don't know, I can't talk for you guys, but I have not messed up the lyrics.
Well, you will tonight.
Oh, great. Where's some
Each of us before the standard If I Only Had a Heart, Courage, and Brain, there's a little intro in the music in the play that's been cut out of the movie or wasn't in the movie. So there's little bits of music that the audience hasn't heard unless they've seen the stage version before. So it'll be kind of nice for them to get little snippets of something new, and then it is something that they know every single lyric of and things like that. There's the Jitterbug song that's not in the movie as well. The intros to all of our stuff, and so it's got a lot of little pieces that will be new to people who've only seen the movie.
And it helps you remember where you're Now, I know there's going to be a technical impact of this story, and of course, costuming and makeup will play a huge part, especially for the gentleman, but also for you, because you're playing a young girl. What is that like as you're discovering that character in collaboration with the creative team who's making your costumes and the set and all of that?
I'm so grateful. You get the costume on and you walk on stage.
Have you had it on already?
I have had it on for some promo things, but there's magic about stepping onto a stage and having that costume on. And It definitely applies to me. I know it'll help the gentleman a lot, but you're in the rehearsal space trying to find this character and be a child or be a lion. But once you put on that fur costume, I mean, you're a lion. So it's easier to find certain things when you're in all that creativity.
I love his rehearsal tale.
Yeah.
Is that like Christmas wrap unfolded?
It's a
I like to find pieces of my costume as soon as I can to put it on, because if there's anything restricting movement-wise, I need to know. These are my character shoes. These are my costume shoes that I wear in rehearsals, because I need to get used to what it's like in my costume shoes in rehearsal with all my flopping around and all the dancing that we do. I can't put on a pair of dance shoes and then opening night put my costume shoes on. It'll be a whole different experience.
Yeah.
So little things like that. If we wear coats, I want to start wearing my cowl as much as I can to start getting used to being as hot as we're going to be on stage as well.
Yours might be the hottest, but yours is going to be incredibly restricting, at least the way we might picture it. How is that working for you?
I'm not going to say much about that.
I don't want to give anything to it.
Right.
Come see the show. You will not be disappointed with the Tin Man's costume.
It's very true. I've seen it. It's wonderful. Yeah.
And of course, we have another star of the show sitting with us.
Yes, Mary's been waiting for her moment.
Mary. What is it like working? They always say never work with children and never work with animals, and you're doing both.
Yes, it's great. It has been a challenge. I seem to always find myself in shows where I'm working with animals. Last season, I worked with livestock when I did Gypsy, and I had to sing a ballad to a lamb. So Toto doesn't headbutt me, so we're doing pretty okay there. It's been a challenge, but I also really appreciate it. I'm a dog person, so I'm glad at least I'm not like allergic or hate animals, and I love children. I actually am teaching privately. I teach about 3 or 4 of the children in this cast. So I have a little bit of an extra relationship with them that sometimes I kind of nudge, you should be taking notes, or something like that. And so I've really enjoyed it, and Mary has been so great, and I've learned a lot about being able to multitask. There's where I need to be, and then there's where this needs to be, and making sure she's always seen and such. So.
And she's counting on you to help hit her marks.
She is. She does like her marks, though, and she's very good about this is how she likes to act. She'll sit up nice and proper.
Well, I'm really thrilled that we're getting to meet you just before because it's coming up really soon.
Yeah.
And by the time we get to share this with viewers, it'll just be days.
Oh my
In fact,
goodness.
it might even be your opening night. So we're going to make sure we get to come back and see your performance, and I'm so glad you let us interrupt your rehearsal today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The Wizard of Oz runs through December 29th. More information about this production of The Wizard of Oz and the other special events at the Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center is available on their webpage, csfinearts.org. And one night only in Denver, I'm thrilled to be hosting a special benefit for Big Dog's Huge Paws on December 12th at Herman's Hideaway, featuring great local bands. Details are available at hermanshideaway.com. A new production at the Vintage Theater is the drama Snow Falling on Cedars. Set in 1954, it's a courtroom drama, a mystery, and a love story. Now we have a brief visit with the director, Sam Wood. Tell me a little about your take on Snow Falling on Cedars for this production at the Vintage Theater.
The playwright has created a play that has several theatrical styles happening at one time. So we really had to work with the cast to understand the difference between presentational theater and representational theater. And we spent about 3 days working on that, on the difference, so that they understood when we got into the narration of the play that there was a way to make that narration active. So even though it was very presentational, how to make it believable and sound like dialogue.
What was it like to have the playwright Kevin McKeon visit and work with the company, and how did that impact this production?
I think that it was a great gift to have Kevin come and work with the cast, mostly because this play has been created in what's called the book it theater style. So they lift from the book the actual narration, and so the play's script is in third person and in first person. And so he was able to come and talk about what is the history of this style and why did they create it. And the reason why it's created is so that the audience can really have an experience with literature and hear the beautiful poetic language of the writers. And this book in particular is a Pulitzer Prize winning book with beautiful images that we're going to treat the audience to, which you're never going to get otherwise in a regular theater production. So to have Kevin here and guide us through that process was invaluable.
How do you balance the story elements of a courtroom drama against a love story, as in Snow Falling on Cedars?
That's the problem with the script. There's a feeling that there's a love triangle, there's a courtroom drama, there's a murder mystery going on. What we did is that we had the cast sit down and we actually went through the play, scene by scene, finding lines in the script that told their story. And then we linked all of those single lines together to create what was the story of the play. And it really made us understand what was happening and why it was happening. This is a story about prejudice. And Gunderson, the original author of the book, he talks about that prejudice is something that is insidious and very simple. It's not complex. We harbor feelings toward other people. And the longer we harbor those feelings, the more they become important to our perspective. And eventually with time, they can become volatile. And that the story is about finding, and the challenge of the play through the final speech by our lawyer, Roger Simmons is doing it, and he's amazing. He says to us, are we going to stand up and be human? Are we going to identify these private and public moments of prejudice that each of us have? Are we going to identify them and address them and be human? So the play really isn't about the courtroom. It's about this island who slowly examines themselves. And you'll find throughout the play moments where they either reject their prejudice or it becomes even more built into their system.
Snow Falling on Cedars is adapted from the award-winning novel, playing at the Vintage Theater through December 15th. Details are available at vintagetheater.com.
Remember to join us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Snugglebug.